Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign is appealing a ruling that knocked him off the presidential ballot in the state of New York. The independent candidate recently suspended his campaign and endorsed former President Donald Trump. The 70-year-old is withdrawing from states where the race is expected to be close, including the state of Maine. In other states, he is asking his supporters to vote for him. The appeal comes as Kennedy is being kept on the ballot in Michigan and Wisconsin despite his attempts to be removed and the suspension of his campaign. And for analysis, we turn now to Derek Muller, law professor at the University of Notre Dame. Professor Muller, great to have you back on again. So how unusual is it for a presidential candidate to ask to appear on some ballots, but not in others?
I've never heard of it. Usually what happens is when you try to get on the ballot, try to get in the ballot in as many jurisdictions as possible. And if you suspend your campaign or withdrew, you try to get your name off the ballot in as many places as possible. So the Kennedy campaign seems to want to have it both ways. On the one hand, not affect swing states. On the other hand, to try to maybe suggest that there's some popular support for his movement in 2028 and beyond. But it's definitely an unusual strategy.
Yeah, it's confusing a lot of folks, too, I would assume. As we mentioned, RFK Jr. appears to be set on the ballot in Michigan and Wisconsin, despite those requests to be removed. And of course, he is suspending his campaign. So why is that? I mean, is there any way that he would be able to get off the ballot?
Yeah, so it's a state-by-state mechanism. Each state has its own rules for ballot access. In Michigan, he's actually the nominee of a minor party called the Natural Law Party. And there are rules that say the party has to have its convention before the primary election that happened in August in Michigan. So right now, at this point in time, it's a little late to be removed as a party nominee. In Wisconsin, it says the only way you can be withdrawn is if you have died as a candidate. We don't allow you to voluntarily withdraw. So a lot of states don't have those rules. These two states have different kinds of rules, and that's why we're seeing different fights cropping up in different states depending on what the set of rules are.
Yeah, and there are suggestions states with Republican leadership could keep President Biden on the ballot in November. What are the chances that that could happen?
That Joe Biden's name would be on the ballot in November?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's no chance that Republicans would try to remove his name. I think they were very clear much earlier in the process, as Alabama and Ohio had some ballot deadlines that suggested, well, maybe the Democratic ticket isn't going to make the ballot. But I think the key here is the Democrats had a convention. They voted for Kamala Harris as their nominee. The parties then submitted paperwork in all 50 states saying Kamala Harris is our nominee. No one submitted paperwork saying Joe Biden is the nominee. So I don't think Joe Biden's name will appear on the ballot in any state. And I don't think any Republicans will try to do so, although one never knows what they might do.
Yeah, we never know what's going to happen. That's for sure. Quickly, before we run out of time, I'm going to switch gears here. Earlier this week, there was a new indictment filed against former President Trump. What do you make of the charges, and are they different from the earlier claims?
Right. So this summer, the Supreme Court said that official acts of the president can't be subject to criminal prosecution, but unofficial acts could be. And while it said that certain acts that Trump engaged in back in 2020 were official acts, pressuring his attorney general, for instance, a lot of other things it was at least up for debate. And the Supreme Court didn't close the door. So this new indictment tries to look at that Supreme Court ruling, says, okay, we can't talk about some of these things, but we've at least left the door open for a lot of other things. So I would say that the new indictment tweaks and modifies some of the charges, but the heart of the charges are largely the same. And I think a lot of the arguments will be the same between Trump and the special counsel Smith in the near future.
All right. Always great to get your insights. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you.